Good morning, everyone. My name's Steve Edwards. I'm the head of agency development here at Amazon Ads in the UK, and I am delighted to share a stage with a dynamic agency duo. My job brings me into contact with major agencies, helping to understand their needs and challenges and how we can help them do great work for their clients. And so I'd like to introduce my dynamic duo today. So we have Laura Boothroyd, who is the Senior Media and Content Manager at Mars Wrigley, and Rich Mashiter, who's the Business Director at Mediacom in the UK. Laura works across the Mars Wrigley portfolio of beloved confectionery brands, and she's leading initiatives to transform communication capabilities across the group. She ran a number of key initiatives in her previous role as the Maltesers Senior Brand Manager, and before that, she was the UK brand lead at Mattel. And Rich runs the Mars account at Mediacom in the UK, and he's been doing so for the last 18 months. Rich has worked on a number of key initiatives, really driving change and cultural conversation with campaigns for brands including Skittles, Galaxy, and of course M&M's that we're here to talk about today. Welcome both.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
And thank you, everybody here today, for joining us on day one of Advertising Week Europe. We have this saying at Amazon that it's always day one. That really means a commitment to constant innovation, a curiosity, and thinking long term. And I think that's a perfect backdrop for what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about a campaign that I absolutely loved. There's so much to it. There's a lot of detail, but it was so much fun. And before we get into it, I'm just going to ask the really serious question. What's your favorite flavor of M&M's? I'm a traditionalist, so I'm going for peanut. I could be convinced otherwise. Laura, what about you?
For me, it has to be M&M's Crispy, although not always the most practical when you're trying to watch your favourite TV show with your friends and family, because they can be quite noisy to eat.
Nice. I think mine has to be M&M's Brownie. It came out in the past year, but what a combo. It's already top of the list now.
I should broaden my horizons. OK, so with that out of the way, I'd like to go back to the very beginning of the conversations, like where this started. And I think it started with a video brief a couple of years ago. And it's quite clear that Mars Wrigley have been really committed to video over a period of time. So maybe, Rich, you can tell us a little bit more about why is video so important and what role does it play in the strategy?
Yeah, so video is central to the way that we plan for Mars. I think there's 3 reasons probably why it's so critical. The first is that it delivers mass reach, and historically it's delivered really strong ROIs for us as well, so it's a proven channel for us. I think then the way it enables us to target the right people in the right context, being able to get into different contexts and to be able to target people at that moment in time that we really want to go after. And I think thirdly, the format in itself, it enables us to bring our brands to life creatively. And I think in this example specifically, it enables us to bring the incredible M&M's characters that we've got to life.
Yeah, great. It seems like you were really on a mission with this campaign, and that mission was to make M&M's the streaming snack of choice. Laura, why don't you tell us a bit more about that strategy to make M&M's synonymous with streaming?
Yeah, sure. So for M&M, shared screen time is a key consumption moment. And building on this consumer insight, we know the importance of emotional connection and the value that sharing a treat or a snack with your friends and family whilst watching your favourite TV show can really bring. And by working with Amazon across multiple touch points, we were really able to drive cultural fame and relevancy, which is something that's really important for us at Mars.
Yeah, it's really interesting. There are a lot of elements to this campaign and this collaboration that we ran, both on Amazon and off. Can you tell us a little bit more about how the campaign came to life and what those different components were? Laura, why don't you start, and then Rich will move over to you.
Yeah, having multiple touch points across the integrated consumer journey was key to making this campaign a success and allowing us to activate through the full funnel. Central to this campaign was an on-pack activation, and this was the first time ever that Amazon Prime Video IP had been included on pack, which was something that was really exciting. And also within not just the confectionery category, but wider, having on-pack can be really valuable, and it helps to cement the M&M streaming association at the point of purchase.
Yeah, it looks really cool. There's a competition element as well, right?
Yep, that's right. So there was an on-pack competition to win a 5-star home cinema, and this was ran across 50 million packs across the Mars portfolio in all the main retailers in the UK. And it really helped to engage the consumers and deepen that association between the brand and streaming. And the competition element really helped to drive value, not only for the consumer, but also supported points of differentiation for both Mars and Amazon.
Got it. Rich, I'd love your perspective.
I think what Laura just talked about in terms of multiple touch points is key. We talk a lot about integrated consumer journeys, and it's something that we are striving to do. I think what, for me, makes this campaign best in class is the consistency that we've been able to get in the message that we've delivered, from everything from on-pack to in-store, to our media, to our website, to decom opportunities. And I think that's crucial, particularly when we're thinking about that consumer journey, thinking about consistency, thinking about what our consumers are seeing, both online, on their tablets, on their phones, all the way through to in-store and on-pack. So that, to me, has been a really exciting part of this campaign, and one that we stand up as being best in class for now. And it's something that we're striving to do across the rest of our brands. It's really about creating a 360 approach for us, and making sure that I go back to the point about consistency. I think then, speaking more broadly about the campaign and what we actually did, we started off with a Halloween campaign in October. We then ran a Christmas campaign in December. Both of those are two key seasonal periods for us. And then the crown jewel was the IP integration with Mrs. Maisel Season 4.
Yeah, the point around consistency I think is really interesting. It definitely comes through in the assets that we're looking at here. I'd like to go a little bit deeper on this. And can you tell me a little bit about the media elements that supported and amplified the campaign? Yeah,
absolutely. So we started off with the Halloween campaign, and there we ran a curated playlist, trying to associate ourselves with your favourite Halloween movies, those that we know are always going to be there. We did the same thing at Christmas with a curated playlist, and that was on that was a Fire TV content sponsorship. For us, it's key that for us to be able to get our characters and our brands in front of people in key seasonal periods, but also knowing when they're going to be watching and when they're going to be consuming together. What better way than to be watching M&Ms with Ghostbusters or any of the Christmas movies. I think then, thinking more specifically about Mrs. Maisel, for me that was a really exciting part of the campaign and kind of elevated the campaign to the next level. There it was about getting our characters to engage with Mrs. Maisel, and that IP integration for us was critical in terms of getting us to the next level. I think the last part to this is online video that obviously enabled us to deliver on that mass reach target that we've got, and still be contextually relevant as well within Amazon. Got it.
The timing of this campaign was quite interesting insofar as I mentioned when we had the first brief, we've been in a 2-and-a-bit-year period of collaboration and development, but obviously the pandemic dropped in the middle of this, disrupted and changed a load of behaviours. How did you adapt to that?
Yeah, so I think the pandemic has impacted all of us in one way or another. I think for us, it's meant that we've had to adapt, to be agile. We've had to learn to be quick in the way that we respond to our environment, to our context, but also to consumers' needs. And so with that, we saw a huge spike in people streaming, watching content on Amazon Prime. So that obviously played into our hands as we want to continue to build our association with screen time. And then, look, we talk a lot about wanting to be culturally famous. And so for that, we need to look at how do we stay in tune with consumers. And so we are constantly looking at what are consumers wanting, how are they behaving, and trying to stay at the forefront of those consumer needs. And with that in mind, when we've seen a number of different trends come out over the past couple of years, but I think back to the likes of the sea shanty when that came out, and we quickly were like, okay, how can we come up with a sea shanty for our brands? Unfortunately, we never got to it.
Fortunately.
Fortunately, unfortunately, I don't know. But yeah, we're constantly looking to be innovative and to find ways that we can tap into culture. And I think what we've been able to achieve with Mrs. Maisel and with both Christmas and Halloween has been testament to how we've been able to get there.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I love the agile approach. I think that's so important in the world that we're living in right now. I'm interested in what you look for in a collaboration and in a partner. So, Laura, maybe you can kind of tell us a little bit more about what you look for.
Yeah, so I think there's probably three key things, and we've talked about it, but the first one being consistency. And Amazon were really able to support our key message that streaming is better with M&Ms throughout the whole integrated consumer journey due to the scale and numerous touch points. So whether that was on screen or on pack, there was a plethora of options for us to get the message out there, which was amazing. And then secondly, Mars as a business, we kind of operate based on 5 principles. And one of those principles is mutuality. So something we always look for in a collaborator, making sure that we've got shared values and that we've got kind of shared aims. And then I think thirdly, it's all about scale and the ability to be able to develop the campaign. So scale in terms of sharing those learnings within the globe, within the region, because the M&M's brand is worth more than $1 billion, but also longevity, so being able to build on the learnings and improve for the future. So I think they're probably the 3 key things we look for.
Yeah. And Rich, what do you look for?
I think for me, there's two questions that we ask ourselves and that we talk a lot about with Mars is, one, can we be culturally famous, as I've just mentioned? And then the second is, can we be meaningfully personal? And so here with the opportunity to collaborate with Amazon, I think looking at culturally famous, yes, absolutely, we could, through our ability to be able to be relevant within those seasonal periods, but also with the launch of season 4 of Mrs. Maisel, we knew people were going to talk about both of those seasonal periods as well as the new series. So finding ways to tap into that cultural moment. And in meaningfully personal, absolutely, we can do that with Amazon. We know that the products that you have, the formats that you have, the targeting capabilities with Amazon mean that we can be there at the right time with the right person.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We find that, we've been saying this for years, right? The media landscape is fragmented. It's getting ever more complicated. People's consumption behaviors have changed, shopping habits have changed, multiple services, touch points, devices, everything like that. What role does brand storytelling play to kind of cut through that noise? Laura, do you want to have a go at that one?
Yeah, when we talk about brand storytelling, I think it's really important to remain relevant while staying true to the brand heritage. And earlier this year, we announced the new brand purpose for M&M's, which is to create a world where everyone feels they belong. And we're really committed to bringing people together by the power of fun to include everyone. And for me, screen time occasions are a great way for us to do this, especially, as Rich said, on the back of the last 2 years, where screen time moments have been so critical to enable that element of connection where it's sometimes not been there.
Yeah, you talked a little bit earlier about characters, and it's no coincidence that we ended up in a situation where Marvelous Mrs. Maisel was connected to characters from an M&M's perspective that you've invested a lot of time and effort in developing and personality of. How does the voice of the brand play into that? You know, what do you look for there? What are you trying to achieve?
Yeah, so I think authenticity is key to consumer connection, and that's something that both Amazon and Mars really value. And it was incredibly important to ensure that the IP and the campaign worked with the M&M's tone of voice. And we wanted to make sure that we could integrate the characters into the IP really credibly. As I said earlier, M&M's is all about the power of fun, and Mrs. Maisel as a comedy title plays into that perfectly. And with the M&M's purpose being to help to break down those barriers, the association with Mrs. Maisel was perfect as a role model as a female comedian in the 1950s, that she was facing various different challenges. We're really pleased with how the integration turned out, so I'd love to show you a quick video.
I admire you guys. I could never be brave enough to wear the same outfit every day. My brother was joining the army. He loved the idea of serving his country.
Brilliant. I want to change direction, shift gears a little bit, and talk about performance. I know that as marketers, you'll be under constant pressure to evaluate performance, meet goals and criteria. We've already seen that this campaign contains a ton of elements. You probably, there's no one-size-fits-all solution to measuring success. So I'd like to hear from both of you on this. Maybe Rich, if you can start, how do you evaluate media performance with something like this?
Yeah, I guess there's 3 questions that we ask ourselves. The first is, did we deliver strong quality reach? And by this I mean, did we deliver strong viewability and strong view-through rates? And for this campaign, absolutely we did. The second is, did we deliver a strong sales uplift? And again, for this campaign, absolutely we did. We had incredible results. And actually, even the previous campaigns that we've ran with Amazon, we've had really strong results throughout, and that's a huge reason as to why we keep coming back to Amazon, keep collaborating with you. And then the third is, can we get our brand to be talked about? And so we know there's a strong correlation between buzz, word of mouth, and sales. And so if we can, again, going back to that point about culturally famous, if we can tap into culture, get our brands to be talked about, then we know sales will follow. And so we, again, knew that by going after those seasonal periods and the collaboration with Mrs. Maisel, that we could tap into the conversation.
Yeah.
We knew people were going to be talking about it, and it was a great success. We got our brands were talked about really positively as well, and sales have followed.
Yeah, brilliant. Laura, how do you measure business impact?
Yeah, so as Rich said, it was an incredibly strong campaign for us, and it delivered an incredible ROI. We saw a positive sales uplift on the M&M's brand, and not only that, it also drove organic search during the campaign burst to drive that discoverability of the M&M's brand store on Amazon, which for us is great when it comes to kind of the 360 integrated journey that we talked about.
Yeah. As you look back at this, what's the most actionable insight or thing that you've learned that you're thinking about when you think about the path forward?
I think for me, we've been on a continuous learning journey, and that's what I'm really excited about. I think when we started the pandemic, obviously cinemas were closed, and so we started off with watch parties. We then moved on to the work with Halloween and with Christmas and those curated movie playlists. And then now the IP integration with Mrs. Maisel. So we've always gone that step further and looking at how can we drive innovation, but also be distinctive. Screen time is a really cluttered passion point, and so we need to find ways that we can stand out, but also find ways that we can be there at that crucial moment when consumers are watching. I think looking ahead, we're really excited about the next sort of evolution of tests that we're looking to run with Amazon. So we're now looking at audio as a channel and looking at how we can bring our M&M's characters and their voices to life with Amazon Music. So yeah, great. We've learned so much so far, but there's still so much to learn and a long journey to go.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm going to finish with a final tiny question for you, Laura. What's next in your mission to make M&M's the streaming snack of choice?
Yeah, well, it's a pretty big mission. And we're continuing to focus on the importance of connecting with consumers through those purposeful screen time moments and in culturally famous ways. And as Rich said, it's all about innovation. So looking at opportunities with Amazon, whether that's in the audio space or elsewhere. And I'm just really excited to see what the future holds in the streaming space for M&M's and where we can take the partnership further.
Amazing. I want to thank you again for sharing those lessons and takeaways with us all today. I couldn't agree more that when we look at the ways in which we can tap into the cultural conversation, that magic happens and great things happen. So Laura and Rich, thank you so much. And to all of you, thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day one at Advertising Week Europe.